Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending our webinar today, Dynamics GP to Business Central. My name is Gina Honer. I'm a senior ERP consultant, and I have the big pleasure of working with both Business Central and GP. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. We'll have our Q&A feature enabled for the meeting. If you have a question, just go ahead, send it in, and one of our moderators will either answer your question or we'll save it for the end. After the webinar, we'll send you a link to the recording and the slide deck so you can view the webinar over and over again. So let's look at our agenda. Today, we're going to take a quick look at why you should move to Business Central, some of the differences between the two applications, and even some of the similarities. We'll end with a demo and a Q&A session. So let's get started. Here are my top 10 techie reasons for moving to Business Central. Most of all, it's a true cloud solution. Okay, no more server maintenance, no more untimely, costly upgrades, powerful analytics built in. Data import and export is very simple. In the end, you're going to have a cost savings. Now, differences between GP and BC. So I picked out some high-level differences between the two products. Already mentioned, GP is an on-premise type of deployment. Business Central is cloud-based. You can work from anywhere on any device. Because we're an GP on-premise, you're going to require install, maintenance, physical server somewhere. On Business Central, we let Microsoft do the work. So Microsoft will host it, does any type of maintenance that needs to be done, updates, upgrades, everything is taken care of automatically for you. Licensing is a little bit different between the two. So GP has site licensing, which means you purchase 10 licenses and any 10 people can log into GP at the same time. On the BC side, we have named user licensing. So you purchase those 10 licenses and you assign them to users in your Microsoft 365 Admin Center. We've always had problems in GP with account numbers and multiple segments and creating new segment numbers and having to create a whole new slew of GL accounts, right? Our chart of accounts can only get bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, within Business Central, you have a one segment account number. Your main account segment from GP migrates over or transfers over to Business Central as your main segment. Now, what happens to your other segments? Well, they turn into what we call dimensions. So dimensions allow for slicing and dicing data, easy reporting, analysis. We can use it on reports within Business Central. We can use them for Excel reports. So we have an easy way to get to the data without having to pull apart the chart of accounts. Today in GP, it's a little bit of a challenge to get data into and out of. You may need a third-party product. You might be using Smart Connect, Integration Manager, even a custom import. Well, in Business Central, with a configuration package, you can easily import or export data using an Excel file. Deep integration with Excel, you can send reports over to Word, and it makes things very easy. Well, with GP, you're going to need remote access, right? If you need to work outside of the office, some sort of remote access, a VPN, another tool to get to your desktop. Within Business Central, anywhere, any device. As long as you have an internet connection, you can log into your BC. Window modifications in GP might need a developer. We know we can use the modifier to move fields around, to hide fields. You can add some fields. Anything more than that, you're looking at a developer. Well, in Business Central, we have a feature called personalization. Personalization allows end users to modify or make changes to their pages. Yes, you can move fields around. Yes, you can hide them. Yes, you can make them required. You can make them not editable. You can even add fields using personalization. So it makes it very easy to make changes. Now, a really nice piece on the personalization is when you're making changes, you, the user, are the only one that has access to those changes. So you are making your Business Central most efficient for you. You will have access to those personalized pages for every company that you have access to. Within GP, we know we navigate through menus and windows to access data, right? We've got to click, click, click to get to the data. In Business Central, we have a universal search function. Sure, there's menus, there's a bookmark bar. You can navigate that way too, but there is a search, and the search is very powerful. You can type in a page you're looking for or part of the page. You can type in a feature or a field, something you may not even know what you're looking for, so something that sounds familiar to you. And most of all, you can even type in a master record. You can type in a document number. You can type in an item number or a GL account. So you can type in an actual record from within Business Central, and then we're going to give you a list of everywhere that record appears. We're going to take a look at that in just a little bit. Now I have some slides that show us a side-by-side comparison between GP and Business Central. The first one here is a chart of accounts from SmartList. Okay, at first glance, the two charts of accounts look the same, right? Account number, description, posting type, a category. But looking closer, you'll notice on the BC side, there are two columns there, balance at date and balance. So right away, when I open my chart of accounts in Business Central, I can see the balance of my account numbers as of right now. I also can put a filter on a balance at date column that says, hey, show me balances for my accounts as of 12/31/23. So very quickly, I have a trial balance here. It makes it really easy to see. Everything it does have hyperlinks on them, so you can drill down on the dollar amount and see all the transactions that make up that value. You'll also notice that there are some lines that are bold and black. Business Central will allow you to put headings in and total lines, subtotals, grand totals. So really, you could create a pseudo balance sheet and income statement out of your chart of accounts if you want. Pretty handy. Next is probably my favorite slide. Left side of the screen is showing you I need to create an AP trial balance detail. So I set it up and I click that report destination button in the lower right hand corner, and this is what I get: screen, printer, or file. If you check file, you can have, what is it, text, tab, um, comma, HTML, I think it is, and if you have a PDF writer installed. But nowhere do you see Excel or Word here. Over on the right side is that same report in Business Central. And look at the options that you have here. We can send the aging to Word. I don't know that it would render very nicely. It really is laid out more for Excel. And notice that there are two versions of Excel. So the first one says data and layout, and that means it's going to format the report for you, make it pretty. The second one, data only, is a data dump. It's going to show you all the transactions that make up the values for every vendor you owe money to. And now for those people that like data, you can dig right in. You can create your pivot tables, charts and graphs, whatever you want off of that raw data. The last radio button there says schedule. So we have a scheduling function within Business Central that is super simple. If you click schedule, we're going to ask you for a name for the report, what you want the output to be, the frequency of generating the schedule, and when you want it to start. So maybe I want this AP aging to generate every day. Well, when I come in the morning, then I can go to my report inbox and I'll see my report there. No longer do I have to navigate to the report itself and set it up and click OK to have it generate for me. It's going to do all the work before I even get in the office. The next slide here is receivables transaction inquiry. And this is going to show us, or this is showing us, all the transactions for a specific customer, right? It's just a little snippet here. And we probably use our inquiry windows very often within GP. Well, on the Business Central side, those inquiry windows translate to what we call customer ledger entries. So what I have, this is actually two screenshots on the right. The top part showing me the entries for my customer, Ziggy Stardust. And I can drill down, I can look to details for the entries. But besides all of that, I have a button on the top. It's actually a toggle that I have selected, and it's named Analyze. Now, the Analyze button allows the data people, again, to take data that you're looking at and create something from it. So what I did is on my analysis, this is the bottom screenshot, I selected to group all the transactions by the document type, and then I wanted to sum all of those types. So what you see at the bottom is invoice. There's 99 invoices and 82 payments, and I have the debit and credit amounts summed here for me. So very quickly, it's just a real simple pivot table here, but can give me lots of information. We're going to take a look at this in a little while too. The next slide is this is my vendor list smart list. It's the default smart list under purchasing. And I know that we love to click that Excel button. Oftentimes, though, especially us as consultants, if we're working on your server, Excel isn't on the server. So if we need to try to export something or look at it, we have to click that print button. And when we click the print button, we can print to screen, print to printer, or we can even export. Now, one of the issues when you use that print button is it word wraps. So the output is it's a very narrow amount of output. So we're trying to juggle columns and make them small enough so that they will all fit going across on a report. So we do have challenges sometimes that way too. Over on the right side, on the Business Central side, sure, I can print this. All I have to do is click that share icon. It's that little square with the arrow on it. I have four choices here. I can open in Excel. So this is my vendor list from Business Central. Open it in Excel. It'll format it just like it would over on the Smart List. But I have some other options here. The next one says Edit in Excel, and this is a very powerful feature. Edit in Excel will send this data to an Excel file for you. That file will actually have a live connection between Excel and Business Central. You can make changes in Excel in that file and publish those changes back to BC. So very easy to make large groups of changes. Maybe if you're going through, in the case of a vendor list, and you are cleaning up typos in the names, you can go ahead into Excel. Just make those changes, click the publish button, and you're all done. We won't, of course, let you change a read-only field, like those balance fields that you see there in the payment. We're not going to let you make changes there. And we'll tell you as soon as you try. You'll get a message saying can't do that. The third option here is share to teams. So maybe there's a page here that you found that you really like and you want to show it to a coworker who also has a license for Business Central. Well, you can hit them up on Teams. You can share the link through Teams. As long as the other person has a license, they can click on the link. Business Central will open exactly to that page for them. Conversely, you can copy the link. If you want to take that link and email it, you can do that too. So we have a lot of flexibility here with just a list page. And then we have our bank rec. In Business Center, in GP, we know that we're going to enter the ending balance from the bank statement along with the date of that bank statement. And then we either have a hard copy of the statement in front of us, or maybe we have it on our computer screen, and we tick off the transactions that have cleared. Okay, it's as a pretty manual process, but we've all used it for years, right? We wait till the difference is zero, and then we know we're finished. Business Central has a couple tools to automate that process for you. First of all, on the left side of the screen, and I'll apologize for the font size because it's pretty small. When you get the slide deck, you'll be able to see it better. On the left side of the page here are your bank statement lines. What is that? Well, we've imported the bank statement. So during an implementation, one of the things we ask for is a CSV file of your bank activity for the period. And then we format the file in Business Central so that you can come to the bank rec and choose bank and then import. You'd select your file and all your bank statement lines will come through on the left side of the page here for you. The right side of the page is showing all the unreconciled transactions up to your statement date. Now, if you look very closely, you can tell that this is test data because I have bank statement information for 2023, but my bank account unreconciled entries are 2019. So for visual purposes, it looks a little silly. Once we have the data in the bank reconciliation, you can choose a feature called Match Automatically. And what BC will do for you is it will match based on transaction date and amount. And when it finds a match, it turns both the entries into a dark green color. So the system does it automatically. And then you can view whatever is unmatched and deal with those however you need to deal with them. But notice at the top of the page here, I've highlighted a box that says Reconcile with Copilot. Copilot is Microsoft's AI application. And believe it or not, we can press this button and sit back. And we can watch Copilot do its work and do even more than match automatically. It could, to a certain extent, complete the entire reconciliation for you. But is there ever a bank rec that is completely clean? Maybe there's a few. But Copilot's going to do that work. It's going to do the thinking for you. It's going to ask you questions and hopefully make that reconciliation process very smooth for you. I think we have one more slide. Yep, last slide here, another familiar screen, payables transaction entry. So in GP, this is where we enter our vendor invoice information. And then we click the distributions button in the lower right-hand corner and we add the distributions for the transaction. On the right side, the payables transaction entry equivalent in Business Central is a purchase invoice. So you'll see at the top part of the page there, we've entered the vendor invoice information. And if you're looking at that little red box with the dots in it, that's a last pass indicator. So we use last pass internally for security, and it thinks that that field needs a password on it. So anyway, it just shows up on the screenshot. The difference here is instead of going to another page to enter the distribution, we've got a section called lines on the purchase invoice. And this is where we'll put in the distribution for that vendor's invoice. We can put in the GL account. We can have comments, but notice that there's a line type there that says item. So it looks like I bought some lamps, didn't go through a purchase order process. So I'm recording the purchase of 5 lamps on my vendor invoice. When I post this, not only will it post to the general ledger, but it's going to update inventory for us also. So we have a combination of items here, depending on what you need. So a little bit more flexibility on the Business Central side to pull things together. Okay, well, it's not time for Q&A. It's time for our demo. So let's switch over to Business Central. And I am in our demo company called Life is Rough. Now, Life is Rough is a boarding and grooming pet facility company. So we have lots of fun entries in here and lots of data to play around with. We use this demo company a lot. So as we go through different pages, I'll point things out to you that are specific to what we're talking about. When you log into Business Central, and you will use a URL to log in, you can also log in from office.com. You'll log to your Role Center page. So this is like your home page in GP. Now, depending on what role you've selected to use for Business Central, that would dictate what you see on this page. I'm a business manager. I like to see the financial information. So as I scroll through here, I see all kinds of numbers. In these teal boxes here, these are all hyperlinks. And you'll see that my cursor turns into a pointer finger when I hover over numbers and dollars. I can drill down to any one of these items here and look at the details that make up those values. As I continue down, I have a section called Insights. First, we see here favorite accounts. This is a really nice feature. So, favorite account says, hey, I've got some GL accounts that I want to keep my eye on. Well, instead of going to the chart of accounts and scrolling through it to see balances, you can assign them here as a favorite account number. And as you go throughout your day, you can peek at these accounts and you can see the balances. They are hyperlinks too. So for every account number, if you want to look at the details, you can just drill down on it and we'll show you all the transactions that make up that balance. Over on the right side, business performance, different charts and graphs that come with Business Central. Trial balance, I don't really consider this a trial balance. What this does is it takes your subtotal and grand total lines from your chart of accounts or account numbers and pulls that into this visual right here. Okay, again, we've got drill downs here. So I know that these lines are made up of GL accounts. And then even the gross profit percentage, these grand totals here, you can drill down on those. And here we have our report inbox. And what we have is that aged accounts payable report. So what's nice about this is, first of all, it's bold and black. That tells me I've never opened it. Okay. And I just came in. It was generated this morning for me. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. I think I have it set. Yeah, I have it set to go to a PDF. So I'll go ahead and open my report. And this is the vendor aged accounts payable report in detail out of Business Central. So I can generate it in summary also. So as I go through, I can make decisions or view whatever I like to view here. And then it is a separate tab, so I can close the tab when I'm finished with it. I can view the report anytime that I want here. When I'm finished with it, I can leave it here or I can turn around and delete it. If I want to stop that scheduled report, then there is a job queue that you would open up and you would just delete the report from the queue. But it's nice to come in to work or at a certain time of day and have reports waiting for you that you don't have to go and generate them yourself. Okay, at the top of the page here, I do have a menu bar that helps us with navigation. Below that, I have my bookmark bar. So my bookmark bar says, hey, these are the important pages. The first 5 are defaults. But if you find a page that you're going to more and more each day, then you can assign that to your bookmark bar. And then it's only one mouse click to open it up. So I want to open my chart of accounts. So very quickly, I see my chart of accounts. I can see the types of accounts. So those bold and black ones, this is where those numbers are coming from. Makes it very easy to go through here and look at your numbers. But I want to show you, what did I notice? I noticed the description of this account. I don't know what happened to it, but it's supposed to be prepaid rent. I want to fix that. Okay, I can't type in here, I can open up the account card and fix it. But I also see that I have a financial statement setting incorrect. I have my cash account set as an income statement account. I want to fix that too. And if I found these two, chances are there's more mistakes in my chart of accounts. So instead of opening up individual account cards, I'm going to click my share icon and I'm going to edit in Excel. This is where we're creating that link between Business Central and Excel so that we can make changes to the list. So Excel is opening on my other monitor. I will bring it up over here. The right side is the navigation. This is where it's creating that link. Left side is going to populate with our chart of accounts in just a second. Now I have an Excel file. I can do with it what I want. There's the file shows you every column or every field in the table. So there's a lot of information here that you don't see in that chart of accounts list. Okay, but I'm going to make changes here, and it's as simple as doing a copy and paste. Where is that other one? Prepaid rent. So I can come in here and fix that. I can go through and make changes to these fields here. If I try to change a balance, it's not going to let me. Okay, it's going to holler at me. Let's say let me find something with a zero balance. I want to make this $10. Okay, I'm going to get a message when I try to make these changes. So we're going to remember line 14 here. So when I'm finished making the edits, then over on my navigation pane, I'm going to choose Publish. So I want to publish all these changes back to Business Central. And here's my message. It's going to tell me right away, changes made to read-only fields are going to be reverted. And you say, yeah, I know. So we'll say, yes, continue. So it tried to write changes or tried to publish all three, but it did exactly what it told me it was going to do. Line 14 changed it back to 0. Okay, so it's not going to let you change any of these read-only fields, but let's go back to Business Central and view those changes. So I have oh, look, my savings or my checking account still says income statement. The description still says prepaid RE. And you're saying, Gina, where are the changes? Well, I can do a quick refresh. F5 on my keyboard is considered a soft refresh in Business Central. So it's not reloading the entire page. Now my changes have been updated for me and we are all set to move forward. So very easy to make changes to list pages in Business Central. You can even change, and get ready for this one, everybody. You can change the account number. So within GP, we know we can change the account number, but it's a process, right? We've got to use Pistol to do it. But within Business Central, you can change master record numbers. And we will give you a message telling you that you're changing it. And you can say, yep, that's what I want to do, and continue on. So all those vendor or customer IDs that you don't like, you can go ahead and fix them very easily here. Let's move on to another feature. I'm going to come to general journals. Now, the general journals, these would be the equivalent to a batch in GP. I'm going to select my Gina journal. This is where I create my general journals. Now, within Business Central, everything, well, in any accounting system, everything ends up as a general ledger entry, right? So we want everything to go to the GL. In Business Central, you actually can live your life in a journal. You can enter your vendor invoices, you can enter your customers' payments, you can do probably not everything, but most things here in the journal. So those journals, the different ones are optimized for what you're doing. Purchases journal, sales journal, cash receipts journal. So what we're looking at here is the general journal, but I have things on here that I don't need. Okay, and I want to pretty this up. I want to make this page most efficient for me when I'm creating journal entries. To do that, I'm going to select our personalize feature. And what I can do is I can hover over any of the column headings and I'll get a red triangle and I can choose to move. I can choose to hide. I can even lock editing, which makes the field not editable. Set freeze pane. So you know how in the line here on the left side, if I scroll all the way over to the right, anything to the left of the freeze pane stays there, right? But I want to hide this. I don't need currency code. I don't need general posting type. I don't need general business posting group, and I can go on and on here, right? So I hide the columns that I don't need. Now, there's something I need to add though, because when I make my journal entries, I might have to be entering some salesperson information. We have a button at the top here that says plus field. It's going to open up another navigation pane for you that says, hey, any of these fields here can be added to your general journal page. So lots that we can do here. I'm going to take out my salesperson / purchaser's code and move it out here. I just dragged it and dropped it. And now that column is going to be available on my general journal for me. I'll press this button that says done when I'm finished. And now I have made changes to this page for my user only for any company that I have access to. Okay, really simple, a lot simpler than using the modifier, right? Plus, it's only for me. The search icon, take a look at the looking glass in the upper right-hand corner. It's a search button for us. You'll spend a lot of time using the search because it is the main way we can navigate around in Business Central. The bookmark bar is really nice, but if you use a lot of different pages, then the search box here becomes very handy. I want to look for my general ledger entries. So I want a page that shows me all my journal entries. So I start typing in, and I can type in just partials here. And I'm looking for general ledger entries, and I see it right now. So after when you're typing in what you're looking for, you get used to just typing in a partial. So I don't have to type the whole word out. So let's take a look. Now I'm looking at every single entry in Business Central since day one. Okay. So this is similar to your financial journal entry inquiry. I'm going to come back to that search and watch this. I have a piece of paper on my desk. It says life is rough. I have no idea what this is. So I'm going to see if it's something in Business Central. Okay. I type in life is rough in my search and hit my enter key. And look what I get. I get a list of everywhere life is rough shows up in a posted transaction or master record within Business Central. And I see purchase invoices, ledger entries. So I know it's a vendor. I come down, I see sales. Uh-oh, now I know it's also a customer. The search shows you the top three, the first three items, and then of course there's a link to see everything. Okay, very powerful feature. So now I know what life is rough is. I'm going to do another search for you. This is Enzo. Enzo's my dog. I want to see, well, there's no GP or BC pages for it, right? I'm going to search company data. And I see general ledger entries, posted purchase invoices. Well, that tells me there's a vendor with the name Enzo in it. Contacts, customers, ledger entries. So I can go on and on, but the search is so widespread that you're not just searching for just Business Central pages or names of pages. You can also search for master records and documents. Okay, let's talk a little bit about dimensions. I'm going to close these pages here. I don't have to go back to my Role Center page each time. It's just a habit during a demo. Um, Now, I had mentioned earlier that your segments in your GL account typically translate in Business Central to dimensions. They don't have to, but if you're using those segments for reporting purposes, we want to translate them to a dimension. Maybe you're tracking department, division, area, team, sales, people, all kinds of uses for those segment numbers in GP. So we come here in Business Central and we create codes for those dimensions. Now, what I am going to show you, there's all kinds of dimension codes here, right? By default, you can have 8 dimension codes out of the box, and 2 of those dimension codes are named to be your global dimensions. They are considered the most important dimensions for you. So what we do is we create the code. Here I'm going to look at breed size. And then we assign values. So if you think about your segments, you have numbers for your segments, right? That's what your dimension values are equivalent to. So for my breed size, these are the size breeds I would like to track. I would also like to track my groomers. So I have a dimension code here named groomer, and I have a whole bunch of groomers. Some of them are blocked. Okay, so that means I don't use them anymore. But because they've been used in transactions, I don't want to delete them in case I'm running a report for that period of time. What's another one that I like? I like the service type one. Okay. So, what types of services does our Life is Rough company offer? And here are those services. Now, once you create your dimensions, and this is a big decision, right? What are my dimensions going to be? What are the values going to be for those dimensions? And what do I do with them then, right? Well, your dimensions values can be pre-assigned to master records if they lend themselves to being assigned to a customer, to a vendor. Lots of times we assign them to inventory items, even GL accounts. Not too often on a GL account, but I see a customer group dimension code here. I bet this is designed to be assigned to a customer. And you can pre-assign those. When you pre-assign those dimensions, then the customer or whatever master record you assign them to is used in a transaction. It's automatically there in the transaction for you. You don't have to remember to add the dimension to the transaction. So, very powerful feature. And when we do assign dimensions, we have some options with them. You can make the dimension required. You can say every time I use this record, I have to have a dimension. You can even name the dimension value and say, this value is required when I use this particular record. Um, so there's lots of ways we can even restrict using a specific dimension that we can use the power behind the dimensions. And I'm going to show you some reports in just a little bit that use our dimensions. So sometimes it's a mental block, a hurdle to get over. But with your GP knowledge, I can promise you that you'll make the transition from segment numbers to dimensions pretty easily. So, how about if I come to my chart of accounts and I want to generate a trial balance, but I want to see in the trial balance what transactions or what the balances are of my accounts based on breed size. Okay, so that's one of my global dimensions, breed size, and I think service. Yeah, service type is the other one. So I'm going to come in here. I have a date range already set. Now, sample data. So there's not a lot of transactions, which is why my date is going to encompass 4 years. But I want you to be able to see the kind of information that a dimension can give you on a trial balance. I'm going to choose preview. I'm going to make this bigger because Microsoft thinks we should all be able to see that really teeny font. Okay, let me move down to the income statement. So what I have here is the GL account number, the description, the total for that particular point in time, 12/31/23, and then I have the total distributed across my breed sizes. So I know somebody's looking at this very carefully, and they're saying, okay, 1590 is the total, but the breed size values don't tie to 1590, right? 170,000 here on sales, that doesn't tie. So what happens is if you have transactions that haven't a breed size assigned to them, then this won't tie out. Okay, so it's a good way to make sure that everybody's using the dimensions as designed, right? If we don't tie out going across, then we've got to be looking for the transactions in this account that don't have dimensions assigned to them. And then there's a feature called dimension corrections. So you can easily go in, put in the account number, and it's a process to assign the dimension to it. So this is a nice report that lends itself to being sent to Excel, so you can quickly do the totals on it. There's another feature within Business Central called Analysis View. Now, the Analysis View, all it is it's a code and a name, and then you're just telling us, hey, these are dimensions I may or may not want to report by and different combinations. So remember global dimensions 1 and 2, and then I also want reports potentially um, using my groomer and breed size dimension codes. So what I can do at this, just from the start from here, there's a button at the top of the page that says analysis by dimensions. And when I first look at this, I need to put a nice big date range in here too. When I first show my matrix here, you might be saying, Gina, that's kind of boring. All it is looks like a giant trial balance by year, right? Nothing special here, nothing dimension related until I do this. I'm going to change my lines. I don't want my rows to be GL account anymore. I want my rows to be breed size. I don't want my columns to be each individual year. Now I want my columns to be service type. I have to change my date range. No, I don't want it 23. So the values are going to be still again for all 4 years. I'm going to view the matrix year at a time. Okay, watch this one. My rows now are my breed size. My columns are my service type. Okay, how cool is this, right? Hey, and you know what? I've got drill downs here. I can look at all of these numbers and see the values behind them. Okay, and I did this just by assigning dimension codes in a little template. Okay, I can change my date range. I can change these codes back and forth to get different views on it. I can even use budget information here too. Now, the other thing I do with these analysis views is we can add them to our financial reports. So let's take a look. Some financial reporting. I'm going to select finance from my menu bar and I'm going to choose financial reporting. I have a report here named LRIS. It's an income statement. Um, as I scroll through here, it's just a plain old income statement. It shows me current year and prior year. Now the numbers are the same here because my date filter is for 5 years. Right, so the current year is the prior year just because of the date filter that I have. So yep, it's just a regular old little income statement. Okay, watch what happens when I change the row here. So I'm going to change what appears on the rows. Here's my LR test. Now look what I have. These are my dimension codes. Dimension codes, dimension value, dimension code, dimension value. So now I am viewing numbers based on my dimension codes. I look at each individual value, like I could be fancy, I should put a total in here too. These are lots of fun to create. It's very similar to Management Reporter when you're creating these linear types of reports, right? Well, let's take it up another notch. Come back here. I'm going to change my columns to be my groomer. Now my rows are back to my accounts, back to my income statement layout, but look at what my columns are. They're my groomers. And I have a total here. And then notice there's a number next to it without a heading. I probably should have put a heading on that. So what we have here is this is has no dimension. This amount has no dimensions assigned to it. So I can see right away if there's transactions I need to go take a look at, and these are all hyperlinks here. So what I did is I took that groomer analysis view and I assigned it to my column definition, and I assigned it to that other row definition to pull out different details in my GL. Okay, that's a pretty cool way to slice and dice data. So let me wow you with something else. I'm going to do a search for customer ledger entries. Notice how little I'm typing in, right? Customer, if I get my fingers on the right key, here's my customer ledger entries. This is a list of all activity for every customer since day one. Okay, very easy to put a filter on the list. You only want to see a specific date range or for a specific customer. Filters are very powerful on our list pages. We've got the share icon. We can send this list to Excel. Not too much. that we can use edit in Excel in, but we can share it to Teams and we can even copy the link. So lots of power here. And we even have some activities that can take place. Well, okay, I am not a data person. I'm an application person, but I'm going to be a data person for a minute. And I'm going to turn on this toggle that says Analyze. And what Business Central does is says, okay, what do you want us to do? Well, I have a pivot table here. I would like to see numbers by document type. So I want my rows to be grouped by the different types of documents. So what do I see here initially? 337 invoices, 10 documents with no type, and then credit memos, payments, refunds. Pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to go further and I'm going to turn on pivot mode. Now it looks a little prettier, but I've got an awful lot of columns here that are repeating the numbers. They actually are all different columns, but they repeat the same number. So let me go ahead and unmark some of them. As you see me unchecking these checkboxes, like you wonder, why is there amount and dollars? That's because if you were in a multi-currency environment, we would show you the originating and the reporting currencies, so you can see them both ways. So I'm just going to turn off some of these dollar signs. Remaining amount really doesn't make much sense. Sales. Mm. And of course, there's other columns we can turn on, but you have to remember how are my rows grouped, right, before I decide which columns I'm going to turn on. I can leave it just like this, and it's giving me numbers since day one. Well, I have a tab over on the very far right that says Analysis Filters. Think of a filter as like the search button in your smart list. So I would like to filter this by a quarter. I don't want to see everything since day one. So now, as I filter by quarters, Business Central is looking to your accounting periods for what the current quarter is, and it's giving you the values that you asked for based on your searching. What else can I do here? Well, I have a drop-down arrow next to Analysis 1. I can also right mouse click on it, same thing. I can name this, I can rename it from Analysis 1 to something else. I can duplicate it and then start some other type of views there. I can send this link to somebody. We did test this the other day because I really didn't believe it would work, and it works as long as the person has a license for Business Central. If you have multiple tabs here, you can change the order of the tabs by using the arrange. If you don't want to see it anymore, you can delete it or you can delete all your tabs. Right, so lots of things we can do here. Right, this plus button is going to allow us to create a brand new analyze view starting from scratch. I also can right mouse click anywhere on here. Whatever I select, I've got some copy features. But down at the bottom, I have my Excel export here. So I can go ahead, send this right over to Excel and open it up. It's just a little spreadsheet here. So depending on what you're looking at, you now have it in Excel where you can go ahead and slice and dice data even more. All right, let's take a look at something you're familiar with. I'm going to do a search here for bank deposits. In GP, we know we book our customer cash receipts and then we turn around, we go over to the financial area page and we group those cash receipts together onto a bank deposit. In Business Central, you can do those two steps in one. So my bank deposit here, I'm going to go ahead and click plus new to create a new bank deposit. I will accept the default for the deposit number that Business Central is going to assign. And I'm going to select the bank account that I'm using. Now, if you have a total, you would go ahead and put that in now, or else you're going to have to total it up at some point, right? What's the date of the deposit? And yes, we want to post it to the bank account as a lump sum. We don't want individual lines to post to the bank account, or we're not going to be able to reconcile. Okay. Now I have my line information. And what I can do is say, okay, my account type is a customer. I have a payment from Trey Research. I can put in, if it's a check, I can put in their check number here. The document number will be required. I don't have a check number. I'm just going to accept the default. I'm going to choose functions off this menu bar and then apply entries. So I'm booking a cash receipt right here. It would give you a list of everything that's open for that particular customer. And I can choose set applies to ID for all the documents that the customer is paying. So I'm going to click OK here. And I see I've got a $1,000 payment from this customer. So I'm going to come down to the next customer and let's see, what does the School of Fine Art have for us? Oh, they owe us a whole bunch, right? Well, guess what? They paid us for a couple invoices. They didn't pay the oldest ones, but they paid, oh, I'll select this one here for $250. And I'll select this one down here. So I have a payment in front of me or somewhere, lower right-hand corner. It's for $453. So I'm like, yep, this is correct. Selected the right documents. I'll go ahead and click OK. And there's my check amount. I also have a check from an employee who reimbursed for some office supplies. So I'm just going to put that in as a GL account. Um, Employee reimbursed for stuff. How about that? And how much did they reimburse us? I'll say $60. So my deposit that I'm sending to the bank should be $1,513. If it does not match what's up here, then you're going to have a problem. It won't post. It's a real easy problem to solve. So my difference is 0. And I could tell it right away, right? If I had put in the wrong amount, it's telling me my difference is $98. So I'm not even going to try to post when I know it's wrong. So did I type it in incorrectly at the top here, or did I make a mistake on any of my detail lines? But what I've done here is I've posted all the cash received, whether it came from a customer or this would be a bank transaction in GP, right? I have it all posted, and I can come here and choose posting. I can check my work before I post. So this is similar to your edit list. And it makes it too big. So I can look at the details. I say, yep, I'm good here. And I can go ahead and post this bank deposit. And there we have it. Now the page name is Posted Bank Deposit. Okay. So I could talk all day about Business Central. And I know you don't want to be here all day. So this is what we have now is we have time for Q&A. If we'd like to go through some questions from our moderators. I know that there were some questions that were answered throughout the course of the webinar. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. And of course, if you have any questions about Business Central or anything that I covered today, feel free to reach out to your customer success manager. Thank you.